bit about just your background, history. You can know the what, you can know the how, but the why is really the most important thing. And you'll see that theme woven into this entire podcast. Like, didn't deserve to be the kid that you would have bet on. I didn't earn that. Welcome to One Tough Day Podcast. I'm Steve VanHorn. I'll be your host on One Tough Day Podcast. Welcome to One Tough Day Podcast. I'm here today. We're going to talk to Brigham Dickinson, legend, trainer, not just in the HVAC industry, but beyond. We like to define ourselves by talking about the tougher days in business, the days that really help to define who we are as leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners, as opposed to the good days. There's plenty of podcasts you can find out there. They're going to talk about the good days. They're awesome podcasts. I listen to many of them myself, but I'm super excited for today's guest. First met Brigham probably close to 5 years ago, shortly after coming into the industry. And man, the energy was just fire. I remember seeing him on stage the first time I saw him, and I thought, like, that guy I could be friends with. That's someone who I won't burn out, and he certainly won't burn me out very quickly, which is not the case with everyone, and I'm sure you can relate to that. But I want to go ahead and get to know our guest today. For those of you that don't know Brigham, probably within 2 years of seeing him on stage, I met him for the first time, engaged, started hanging out a few years later. I very much consider you a friend, a mentor, someone I look to in business, someone who every time we talk, man, I am better for it, and I just appreciate you. I love you, and I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today and being with us, Brigham.
Wow. Appreciate that introduction. Love you too. This is a cool experience, great opportunity, and feel the same way about you, Steve. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit, Brigham, about yourself. For those that do know you, you need no introduction, but for those that maybe don't, tell us kind of who you are, what you're all about, the passion, what motivates you to get out of bed in the morning and bring the fire that you bring every single day.
I just like helping people. I've always enjoyed being around people. I'll tell you, funny thing, I served a 2-year mission in Brazil when I was 19. And when I first got the calling, I was super pumped. I was super excited. And the only reason why this is top of mind is because my son Isaac just turned in his papers to go on his mission.
Nice.
We'll likely know. I'm going to see him this weekend, and he'll probably have his call by then.
Meaning he'll know where he's going.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and you don't know.
It's like open an envelope and buy a ticket.
Yeah, well, essentially, yeah. But it's a pretty cool experience. Usually, what we do is we have family come and friends, and everybody gets together, and they open up that piece of paper together, and we all kind of celebrate, right?
It's like a gender reveal party.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit different for Mormons, but
yeah,
but yeah, same concept. And of course, widely knows of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But the reason why I bring it up is because I didn't realize how much of a people person I was until I served in Brazil. Because when I first got out there, and they do, I mean, it's not cold turkey. They do put you through some classes, right? You go to a missionary training center for 2 months, and in fact, I went to the one in Provo, and they were teaching me Portuguese. I thought it was Portuguese, right? Because I was going to Brazil.
Yeah, the native language, yes.
Yeah, I was going to Brazil, and super excited about Brazil. And
I assume it wasn't Portuguese they were teaching.
Yeah, well, when I went out to Brazil, it didn't feel like I was learning Portuguese for 2 months, because what they were saying and what I was learning in MTC seemed like two completely different things, and so it was a bit of a shock. But I get out there. Oh, and side note, and then in the MTC it's literally 2 to 3 hours in the morning. So you have breakfast, 2 to 3 hours of language in the morning. Then you have lunch. Then you go back and you do it again for 2.5 to 3 hours, and then you have dinner, and then you go back and do it again. And this is 6 to 7 days a week. Now
3 days. This is like sports concepts and missions.
Yeah, it was serious. Yeah. In fact, I was amongst a bunch of very smart people. Right today, there's one that's an attorney, and another one that is a leader for a big oil company in Texas. I mean, these guys were extremely intelligent. And so at one point, I had to have a tutor sit down with me one-on-one and make sure I stayed up with the class. So I get out there to Brazil, and man, just like I said, Steve, I felt like I was learning the wrong language in the MTC. I thought for sure, holy cow. I mean, I
19 years old.
I couldn't
new
understand.
Country around extremely powerful, influential people.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what's going through your mind.
Yeah. So once I got out there, man, it was brutal. First few days, I thought to myself, how am I ever going to learn this language? But funny thing about just buckling down and refusing to speak English, I just chose not to speak English anymore. The only way I was going to learn this language is if I only spoke Portuguese. And so during that time, I kind of fell into a depression because I couldn't communicate. I couldn't talk. I loved people so much that it
You
would
had all
mess.
these emotions and things you wanted to say, but you made this commitment that
Yeah.
I got to say it in Portuguese.
Exactly.
And I don't know the words.
Exactly. I couldn't even tell jokes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You can't be sarcastic.
Brigham without a dad joke? No, I can't imagine. Can't imagine.
It was brutal. It was brutal. And I can remember how my prayers were, Steve. They were like, "Dear God, please help me learn the language."
Were you praying in Portuguese?
I tried. Yeah. In all candor, it was in whatever language I could possibly muster to get God to help me through this difficulty. And it was weird because if I couldn't talk, what happened was I would just constantly think something and then rethink it and then rethink it. And then it was like a Rubik's Cube in my brain. And it was driving me crazy.
Yeah.
And so,
for someone who's used to being able to put the exact words in the exact right moment, right?
yeah. Oh yeah. Being left alone with my thoughts, it was awful. It was my own little hell for a while.
Thus the depression and
Exactly.
confusion. Sure.
Exactly. And plus it was really hot outside in Brazil. It was, 100 degrees and 100% humidity. And when it rained, it doesn't just rain or sprinkle. We came in the studio this morning and it was just a little sprinkle outside, no big deal. But there, when it rains, it's like you're in some sort of torrential, like you're soaked instantly from head to toe. Yeah. Instantly. So all that stuff combined, right? When you take a shower, you have to wear flip-flops everywhere. You can't walk barefoot anywhere. Can you imagine? There's no carpets.
Why is that?
Well, just because in Brazil, they have mostly, mostly
dirt floors,
hardwood floors or dirt floors and for whatever reason, there's a lot of bugs down there that will get into the soles of your feet if you're not careful. And so,
delightful. Sounds like a great place.
It actually is. It's a beautiful place.
I've seen the pictures. Brazil looks beautiful. I've always wanted to go to Rio.
Yeah, and a beautiful
Olympics.
Yeah, beautiful people. Yeah. Beautiful people. You see, once I got to know the people, and I'm kind of skipping down the line here, but speaking of one tough day, this was one tough day.
I was like, did you just dive in with the toughest day already? Goodness gracious. I haven't even asked the question yet.
The first area that I went into, we went into an apartment that hadn't been lived in months. And so there was dirt caked up above the cement floor. And we had to clean out the dirt by the shovels full. And then we were mopping. And I can remember as I was mopping in the kitchen, it's a very small kitchen, probably half the size of the studio. There was a fridge. In fact, when you opened up that fridge, it was this handle that you'd pull out. Those old-fashioned fridges? Yeah. It was one of those.
The old Frigidaire, the script chrome grill on it.
Exactly. Yeah. It was exactly like that.
I can see it right now.
No stove. There was no stove in there. And so finally, as I'm looking around in the kitchen going, how are we going to do this? How are we going to cook anything? Of course, there wasn't a microwave or anything like that. And so I asked my companion, that's what we call each other, right? Elder so-and-so, companion, whatever. So I asked him, I said, hey, how are we going to cook our food? And he's like, oh, don't worry about that. I saw a Folgers can outside. I'm like, Folgers can? Well, first of all, we don't drink coffee. Second of all, how's that going to help us? You know what? Just go grab it. And I went and I grabbed it. And he had this bottle opener. And he used the bottle opener to kind of put holes around the can. Mm-hmm. Kind of like MacGyver. I was like, dude, this guy's legit. And he throws this rubbing alcohol in the bottom of the Folgers can. He pulls out a frying pan. And that's how we cooked our breakfast and dinner for the foreseeable future. We did that for 5.5 months.
Wow. So it was a fitness program as well. You got to work that hard to get your food. You're not just going to the pantry and grabbing a bag of Cheetos.
It was survival. It was definitely survival. The way we washed our clothes, we had a sink outside with a bucket, and we had a line from one side of the fence to the house. And we would literally wash our clothes in a bucket. I learned how to wash a white shirt in a bucket. The bathroom was actually, you'd have to go outside and into another room to be able to take a shower. One more reason to wear flip-flops, right? Yeah. And so the shower head would come right out of the ceiling, right? And the heat mechanism was literally in the shower head. So if you were to touch the shower, yeah, you would get a nice little shock, right? So don't touch the shower head, right? Just take your shower and get out. But that shower head was right next to the toilet. I didn't realize those were two things that you could do together. But anyway, it was quite a trip. But the worst part, none of that, all that I could handle, right? I wrestled in high school, right?
Yeah. So you're used to some gross situations.
Yeah, this is, look, anything compared to wrestling is hard, right? I'm not puking yet. I'm fine. I'm good. The problem, the issue, the difficulty is that I could not communicate. I could not talk. I could not be sarcastic. I couldn't laugh. I mean,
yeah, and I assume even if you wanted to be tempted to use English, nobody would have understood you.
Nobody, yeah, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. And my companion, his name was Elder Burrows, and burro in Portuguese is donkey.
Oh,
okay, so
Elder Donkey.
So he was very strict and would not speak English even if I wanted him to. He was an American, but he would not speak English even if I wished it. Total stud. Looking back, the best companion I could have ever asked for, right? But at the time, very, very difficult. About 3 months in, so here's the change, right? My prayers were all about me. God, please help me. Please help me. Please help me. Please help me. So 3 months in, we had a leader come to the area, and we call him a zone leader, right? So he comes to the area, and he could tell that I am not having a good day. In fact, it was on that day that I decided I was going home, because we're not forced to stay. If we decide we want to go home, we can go home.
This is like what's the show, like Naked and Afraid? Like when you're cooking your food by yourself. Yeah, it sounds like Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
So you're ready to push the button.
Yeah,
Tell them, come get me.
I am
Get me out of
ready.
this
I
place.
am ready to push the button. This is my last day.
Were you guys fully clothed on this experience?
Yes.
I want to clarify.
Yeah, tie and all, white shirt, tie.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Had clothes. But this zone leader could tell that I wasn't doing well. And he said, you know what? I'm going to take you in my area, and I'm going to have my companion go with other bros today. And I could tell he was just trying to help me, right? And you know when you recognize that you're being helped and you don't want to be helped?
Yeah, the majority of my life. I think I experienced that.
So that's where I was at. I was like, whatever, bro. I've already decided. I'm done. But sure, I'll go with you in your area today. We visited a family or two, and I believed in what I was doing. I believed in what I was teaching. I believed in the service that I was providing. I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it. It was too hard.
Yeah.
And there's this family. There was a gal about 10 years old that as soon as I walked into that home, she locked eyes on me. She wouldn't stop looking at me. And the rest of the family was kind of engaged with what we were doing as well. But she just seemed, I don't know, entranced. And I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I don't need for you to, to be like, oh, you're an amazing person right now, because I don't want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Your decision was made.
Yeah, I'm done. And so I thought to myself, you know what? This is going to be my last lesson with my companion here and with this zone leader, and that's going to be it. So I'm going to give it my all. I'm going to do everything I can to say and articulate every word the right way. And even though I've been, kind of laughed at the last 3 months, and they kind of tap me on the head and, oh, Brigham, you're trying, right? You're trying so hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, patronizing.
Exactly.
That's what we all want.
And so I give it my all. Give it my all, and share, just share my heart, right? Because this is it. This is the last one. And as soon as I get done with a certain part that I felt strongly about, I looked up at the family, and they all seemed super engaged in what I was teaching. And, of course, that 10-year-old was still looking at me, and so I asked her, how do you feel? In Portuguese, it's como se sente? How do you feel?
If you say so.
Yeah, you're going to just have to take my word for it.
Yeah.
And she couldn't say anything. And then these tears started coming down her eyes.
You were hooked.
And not only the amazing thing is not only did she understand for the first time in 3 months, Steve, for the first time in 3 months, people began to understand me.
Yeah, you made that connection.
Yeah.
The walls were down.
Yeah. Not only did she understand me, she felt what I was saying.
Yeah.
She felt what I was saying.
Well, as someone who's been around you many times since the 19-year-old boy in Brazil, I could tell you, I feel that. I always am engaged, fully engaged. So, I just had this conversation yesterday, Brigham, with someone, a senior leader who I was talking to about how, the gift, like, when you identify you have it and how do you use it. And that's something you and I share. I'm sure we both have heard that since we were young. Like you have this, ability to articulate your thoughts well, and your mind moves fast, but most people's mouths can't quite keep up. But in your case, like somehow the two seem to run, in symmetry most of the time. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes one outpaces the other. But like, how do you use that gift, and why are you given that gift? And I think you and I share this passion, which is why we're doing this podcast. I appreciate the fact that you were one of the people that helped push me to this. We first talked about this probably a year ago. And I think every time I've talked to you since, you're like, when are we doing the podcast? When we start that podcast? I'm like, all right, bro, I got to get Brigham up and back. We're starting this podcast. And more and more people have kind of asked it. But going back to that conversation I just had yesterday, like, my prayer for the last probably 10, 12 years is like, hey, I've sold stuff since I was 14 years old, right? And despite the name Power Selling Pros, I don't want our listeners to be deceived at all. Like, I don't feel like you guys are a selling organization at all. You're truly not. You're someone who's very communication focused, connection focused, really focused on helping people to communicate better with all the best interests, not for the sake of getting a sale. So it's more driven behind that. But my prayer has always been like, hey, I hope I don't squander that gift. I think it's a blessing that you've been given in the way that you communicate and the way that you can connect with people. And I think I have a similar gift. But I told the guy yesterday, I said, if I found out when I finally hit the pearly gates that gift was only used to sell more copiers for years and cell phones and HVAC solutions, and I would be extremely disappointed. I think there's more to this, but I'm not, always the brightest individual. So, my prayer is, hey, help me to use this gift. I don't think you gave me this gift to sell more HVAC. I don't think you gave me this gift to sell more copy. I think there's something here where it's led to inspire people and connect. And just a quick story, because I really want to talk to you more, but I had a close friend of mine who I've known for, I don't know, probably close to 20 years now, reach out the other day. Terrible situation, had some major health challenges about 10 years ago, got diagnosed with brain cancer, had a tumor, had to go through a surgery and lost his mobility, was in a hospital. We actually didn't think he would make it for a while. Super good individual. Like I said, I've been close with for a while. Up to that point, he had grown his business significantly, had built really significant industry. I don't want to give away the industry because I don't want necessarily everybody to know who he is. I don't want to put his news out there, but
sure.
Super successful. All of a sudden, he's bedridden. We didn't think he was going to make it for a while. They've luckily eventually found a course of action where he was able to, be restricted to a bed at first and then regain some mobility and has to go through speech therapy and all these other things. So he's in a better spot today, but the business has paid a price for his absence and some of his physical ailments. And so he called me the other day, and he was sitting in the parking lot waiting to pick up his son from a bowling practice. And he was in a tough spot. I mean, we had a really difficult conversation, probably 30, 40 minutes. And I listened. And finally I was like, but hey, can I give you some perspective? And he's like, yes, please. I'm like, 10 years ago, we didn't think you'd be here, man. Wow. We didn't even think you would be here. So what would that you 10 years ago, not wanting to say his name here, have said 10 years ago about being here today? You're in a parking lot, driving a car to pick up your son from a bowling practice that we didn't even think you would be here to see. Like, think about that. And he's like, yeah, I said, it's like the proverb, I once was sad I had no shoes until I met a man who had no feet, right? Like, you're here, you're healthy, you're driving a vehicle, you're processing your thoughts. Like, yeah, you've had tough times, but you were prepared enough for those tough times that you've gotten through it. Like, your business is still alive. You have options. You have your health. You have your family. Your wife's got to spend an additional 10 years with you. Like, you're blessed, man. You might not realize it because you were in a great spot before this physical ailment hit, but man, you are so blessed. And he got emotional, and I was starting to get choked up on the call, and he's like, I need to talk to you more often. I said, you should call me more often. Like, and I apologize to him for not reaching out to him proactively more often because, my phone's full of 3,000 people. I wish I could call them all every day, but I wish they could call me more often because I walked away from that conversation and I was so energized because what he doesn't realize, and I'm sure you feel the same way, as I'm speaking truth to him and trying to appeal to him, like it's all resonating with me too. Like, man, how many days do I get down on myself, or do I feel like there's, no hope, or there's some despair? Like, owning a business is tough. Growing a business in the size and scale that Chad and I have for the last 5 years, like, it's not easy. People see the glamorous stuff, and it's part of the inspiration of this podcast. Like, what if they knew the other stories? What if they knew the ones people aren't so inclined to want to go on the airwaves and shout out to hundreds of thousands of people? But those are really, I think you would agree, the more defining moments as a person, as a leader, as an entrepreneur. Do you agree with that?
I would say that as business owners, our expectations of ourselves are extremely high. When we're talking to our teams, they might think to themselves, "Oh man, he's so hard on me." Well, the truth is we're at least, if not even more hard on ourselves, right? That internal talk
Oh, 100%.
that goes on. But having those moments, just like the one that you just shared with us about your friend yesterday, helping him recognize the 10 years that he has, that potentially he could not have had.
Right.
That's what it's really all about. It's those gifts. And cool thing, you finally have executed this outlet, right? This podcast where you can use the gift without having to, leave your house or leave your market.
Yeah,
So-
I just have to inconvenience my friends to fly here from Utah to spend.
and it is absolutely my pleasure.
We could have done it remotely for the record, which we will do a number of these remotely. But
Then
in
we
your
couldn't
case,
do it in this really cool room.
and I wanted to use it as Brigham bait. I was like, "Hey, Brigham, come on out here. We're going to do this."
I was in this room a year ago when I thought to myself, "You guys, this is the coolest thing." Well, I found out later that you guys had planned to do this for a long time. This is a long time coming.
This is like the Field of Dreams project here. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually. But then Chad and I became the ones always telling people like, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. As you know, we do a lot of things at one time. So this is one that we've wanted to do, but it just took putting a pen to paper and saying, let's get it done.
And it's needed. You and Chad absolutely have something to give to not just the home service industry that we're in, but to everyone, to leaders in general. So I'm super glad that you're doing it and very grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And really, in my opinion, I mean, the value is in the guest, right? So looking at the guest list we put together, like it's just phenomenal. I'm so excited. I very much am a product of all the great people that I've been around. And I've said that for years, like I've been so blessed and so fortunate. I know you feel the same way, to have had some incredible mentors in my life, some people who were just so smart. And now to be kind of on the other side of life, I'm only 41, but I'm at the point now where I've had enough experiences, and I look forward to the next 20 years of experiences so I can continue to build out that education. But I've always, and I know, again, we share this common interest. So I know I'm not alone in this, but like I'm always seeking more, like, whether it's a book, whether it's a podcast, whether it's, sitting and talking to someone. I had the opportunity to spend some time this weekend with a business entrepreneur in the Canton area, guy who's owns multiple car dealerships, a lot of real estate, and just talking to him, I walk away from that conversation. We traded cell phone numbers. He's like, "We got to go to lunch." I was like, "Yes, we absolutely do." He's like, "I know you're busy." I was like, "I will take time to sit with someone like you absolutely anytime the phone rings," because he's probably pushing 70 years old, I'm going to bet. And he's built a dynasty up there. And I'm like, I want to get to know this guy. I want to pick his brain and find out all the mistakes he's made so I don't make the same ones in my life. And so that I can learn from his mistakes, and so that I can also just understand like what makes him tick, which is truly what this business is about. But again, it's so natural. Like I'm standing here talking to him one-on-one, and he's telling me some of the difficult stories. And I could tell that's like not as comfortable for him, but he's willing to share that with me, which I thought like, that's cool. I appreciated the fact that this is the first time him and I have really interacted in depth, and he's sharing these pretty deep stories with me. I'm like, boom, podcast. He's going to be on the podcast. So
I love that.
Stay tuned.
I can't wait to hear him.
Yeah, he's got a lot of wealth and knowledge. So, and that is the focus, is to kind of bring in different people who are leaders, mentors, who are entrepreneurs, business owners. So, because I think that's a lot of times where we struggle the most. And again, I'm going to be conscientious here of who's controlling the time of possession, Brigham, because I really want to dive into this. But I think as an episode 2, people understand the foundation that we're trying to lay here with this, and you're the perfect guy to help me lay it. It requires a certain level of vulnerability to run a business, right? And to be true to yourself. And I wasn't willing to admit that early on. I was the cocky, arrogant, early, in my 20s, the majority of my 20s, who I could do anything I wanted in the sales world. And I would win every award that I wanted to win. So I thought, like, I've got things figured out, but my social skills were lacking in terms of the way people felt when they walked away from, engagements with me. I could get them to do what I wanted to do, but it wasn't always via, vision casting and getting them to understand the why. And now when I think about how more meaningful my relationships are at 41 years old than the ones that I formed when I was 29. And, the biggest thing I always think is, like, I wish I could go back. I wish I could go back and re-engage those people and show them the growth that I've experienced as an individual. So one of the fires behind this podcast happening now is like, well, maybe I still can, right? Maybe it's not too late to go back and try to do better via this platform.
Yeah, this is how you go back.
Yeah, I agree.
This is how you go back. You go back by moving forward.
Yeah. And I can 10X it now, it's still a little Grandham's there because I can bring people like you on.
That's right.
And we can share your experiences.
And you can broadcast it.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing that I always enjoy talking to you about, you visit hundreds of contractors, hundreds of companies all over the country, big country. And for those of you that don't know, Power Selling Pros is kind of the premier coaching company in the trades industry, but they also go beyond the trades as well. So you get to see all these contractors, and you always have great stories for me. But I'm going to ask you a tough question. Pick your brain here. What is the difference, Brigham, between the really good contractors that execute at a high level and the contractors who you're constantly probably revisiting because they just can't seem to get the tires out of the mud?
So I usually see two types of contractors. They either are really good at setting the expectation, right? And that expectation is extremely high, right? You do this, this, and this. You perform this way. And if not, right, big consequences, whether it's getting fired or losing pay.
So these are folks who are leading with the hammer.
Absolutely.
My way or the highway.
Yeah, you see those a lot.
Especially in the trades.
Yeah, especially in the trades. What I see more of, even more than that, right, more than the high expectation guys, are the high amount of love guys. And everybody in this industry talks a big game. They're like, if you don't do what I say, you're going to be off the bus, right?
Yes.
So when you're at an event, everybody talks that way.
Exactly.
But when you go to their office, big lie.
Teddy bears.
Big fat lie. They've got people that are in their shop and they're toxic and they've been there forever and they can't let them go either because they're family or because they've been
there since the beginning.
They know their backstory and
right.
The difficulty with that is there's a lot of difficulty with it. Number one is that the people that may work for a $1 million company may not work for a $10 million company, right? They're good at doing a lot of things pretty well, and that's great for a small company. But when you get bigger, you're going to be more and more specialized with each of those roles, and so those individuals don't fit, and so that's why they stay, whether they're family or not.
Right.
So what I find more than anything, more than the expectation guys, is that there is a ton of people who just love on their people. They love on them, and they're good people. Down to earth. They've actually been there themselves. They see a lot of themselves in their people.
And I think that's it right there. You just hit the nail on the head. When you see those people and you see a younger you, or you can relate so much to it that you develop a softness for them, right? Like, and sometimes the accountability then starts to slide because you're like, somebody was so hard on me at that age, and I don't want to do that. But the reality is, part of what helped define who we became probably was the fact that person was hard on us and held us accountable, right?
Yeah, it's a pendulum swing. It's a pendulum swing that we've got to stop the swing and kind of be in the middle where we are constantly providing tons of love, but also tons of expectation alongside it. So what happens is I see contractors on one side of the pendulum or the other. The ones that have a high amount of love, it's easy for us because we go in and we can help motivate them to bring up the expectation along with that love and make some serious choices and changes that need to happen. If people aren't willing, time to move, right? Either change their their position or transition them out of the organization.
So you're seeing that in the high performing organizations, those operators, those owners are willing to make those moves. Sometimes they have to part with the negative energy.
So I'm going to switch that on you. I'm referring to the ones who love a lot are willing to make those changes.
Yeah.
The ones that have a high expectation, and here's how I figure that out. If I hear things like, if I hear an interaction between you and your employee, and you're saying to your employee, okay, so you better do exactly what Power Sling Pros is teaching you or telling you.
You know, we don't have employees here, right? Only coworkers.
And
it's a fact.
And I love that you're saying that because that demonstrates love. That's that high amount of love that
we're
I'm
all
talking
working
about.
together. Employees imply ownership. It's such a dirty word. It's something that I started, I don't know, many years ago. And it's so funny because Chad has jumped on board. And now when we're in a meeting and someone says the word employee, Chad's like, I'll sit there and look across the table at him. He'll go, ugh. And I'm like, it's crazy, isn't it? Like mentally, it's become a cuss word within our organization. Like nobody will say employee because the second they say it, it creates this negative. Like, do you want to be owned? Do you want me to own you?
I really don't.
You're my employee,
I
Brigham.
really don't. And
Get
I don't
to
want to
work.
feel like I own anybody either.
Hey,
So
you want to be my
coworker does
coworker?
make sense
You want
to
to be
me,
my
of course.
coworker? I want to be your coworker.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So like let's grind this thing out together. So just that one little like nuance, it's funny how it just changes everything, right?
Yeah, I love that.
So sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. So you got high love, you got high expectation. The ones with a high amount of love, it's easier to work inside that organization because we can kind of provide the feedback that they need to help them realize, hey, look, this person is toxic. What do you feel like should be done a year ago? And they go, oh man, I need to change their position or actually let them
They already know, right?
Exactly.
90% of the time.
So it's easier for them. The ones that have high expectation, it's a little bit more difficult because, and here's how I go about it and help them realize this. I ask them questions like, hey, when's the last time you had a coworker in your organization give you objective feedback? Now, if they can't think of the last time a coworker gave them objective feedback, I'd ask them a second question. The second question would simply be, when's the last time you laughed at yourself? You know, maybe even make fun of yourself. Just kind of laugh at something silly that you did. If they can't think of the time, that's something I'm gonna have to work on with them. Let me throw one more question at you. Does the owner recognize that expectation is so high, and if the love's not there, do they see how it's going to be very difficult for their coworkers to go to battle for them, right? We want our team to be so motivated that they're willing to go through brick walls.
It's the way it's got to be. It's so good, man. It's such good stuff.
And
so right.
And the only way we can achieve that is by proving to them that we will go through brick walls for them.
Sure.
So if they do not believe that you will go through a brick wall for them, why would they do that for you? Right?
100%.
You've got to take the lead there. So when I start to recognize these things, this is a much more difficult situation for me as a teacher, right? Mm-hmm. As an educator, because that's what I feel I am. I'm a teacher. I'm an educator.
I agree. Darn good one, by the way.
Appreciate that. Is to sit down with an owner that essentially has an ego problem. Mm-hmm. They have an ego problem. And we've got to work on them before we can really have progress with their team. So there needs to be a high amount of love and a high amount of expectation. And with the balance of high love and high expectation, you're going to have a very successful organization. And of course, that's what I'm getting at. And when we see a default in progress, a default in growth, it's because they're lacking on one or the other. Either the expectation isn't high enough or the love isn't high enough.
So I want to follow in. I want to pick that a little bit, and I got to make sure I leave time for the big question, which is, what was the toughest day in business? So, but first, I want to follow up on what you just said. So sometimes this unwillingness to be vulnerable and to kind of pick at their lack of perfection and be vulnerable to their teams. Did you see that during COVID, contractors sometimes develop like an inaccurate sense of grandeur or whatever you want to call it, because everything was so easy, especially in the trades during COVID. It hit a lot of mistakes. You saw that. I saw that. Did some operators develop some really bad habits or have some bad habits reinforced because they were experiencing vast levels of growth and success, despite the fact that they were still egomaniacs and pushing people away and not building out process? Did you see that?
Yeah. As soon as COVID hit, I mean, initially everybody was kind of freaking out. I know because I had 50 contractors call us and say, hey, we got to put things on hold. We don't know where things are going. Super scary day for me. That was a scary day.
Yeah.
But let's put a pin in that one. And
That might be
perhaps,
one of the toughest days.
Perhaps we could talk about that. But after we got through that initial scare, and we began to realize that homeowners were actually spending more time in the home, and that we shouldn't be pulling back at all. We should be doubling down, because when people spend more time in their home, their system's going to be working harder to keep them comfortable throughout the day, as opposed to it in the morning and at night.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we just started booming, and everything
got rolled essential pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Everybody started talking about indoor air quality, and all of a sudden we're spending 80% of our time in our homes, and people are like, maybe I need better air quality.
And then PE groups are coming in and going, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing business ever, right? And they start investing, thinking it's going to go gangbusters,
and it did.
Yeah, for a while.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. That was something I kind of experienced, because I came into the trades right when that happened, right? So 2020 into 2020, 2021.
Perfect timing.
And I'm immediately, like, people saw me as like the Fortune 500 guy who came into the trades. And so people were like, hey, come see my shop, come see this. And I selfishly wanted to go so I could learn more about the industry. And I'm seeing some of these like really bad operators, and I'm like, but they're killing it. Like, this is crazy. And I had to kind of be able to associate, like, are they killing it because anyone is capturing the low-hanging fruit right now? Or are they killing it because the way they act? And, you know, as someone who's trying to grow a business quickly, and what Chad and I were doing, you got to be able to, like I said, kind of differentiate between those things, because I didn't want to adapt some of their bad habits, but I wanted to be effective. So I was hoping that it wasn't always going to seem that way. But in the last 2 years, I think it's been very humbling for a lot of trades companies. Now, our growth has continued. You know, it's been a rocket ship, which we're very blessed, and we have a phenomenal team. And that's the reason why it's skyrocketed. But, you know, we've seen this happen in the trades. And now last year was the first year of like declining revenues across the industry. We still were up 20-some%. And more than ever over the last year, which is another reason why we're doing this podcast, people are reaching out and saying like, hey, we got a problem. I need to fix it. My business is struggling. We're suffering. Where can we do this? And a lot of times it comes down to process, and it's amazing how many times your name comes up and we're talking about booking rates and their CSRs and what is your primary focus in the business. And you already know the answer. What is the number one thing that when people's business starts suffering, what's the first department they go after? It's not CSRs. It's always where do
marketing.
We get? Yeah, sometimes. Yep, you'll love that one. Yes,
Yeah, but they
marketing,
do
which
pick on
then
their-
leads to more. What are they trying to generate via more
Leads.
marketing? Leads. I need more sales. It's got to be sales. It's got to be sales. We got to make the phones ring more. We got to make the phones ring off the hook. And then you find out they got a 32% booking rate. So you want to dump more
There's your sign.
money into the fire to make the phones ring more so that you can answer the phones really shittily, right?
and burn your marketing dollars for sure.
And that is a disaster, right? Like, so that's how all of a sudden now your spend's going up, your call rate, your booking rate's not going down. If anything, it probably, I bet you'll have insights on this, it's probably declining your booking rate, because now you're scrambling your CSRs are answering a higher volume. They can't spend as much care, compassion with each customer, right? They're not asking the right questions. They're not following the script. They're just trying to get calls booked. So it's a mess of, what's your diagnostic fee? $100. Call me if you're interested. Thanks. Click, right?
And in 2021, you could do that.
In 2021, you could do anything you wanted and you were still going to get the call.
It's interesting how history repeats itself. So back in 2007, everybody was going gangbusters. 2008 hits, and everybody's dying on the vine, right? And there's obvious reasons for that.
The housing crisis.
But that's
economic
exactly
downturn.
how I started Power Sling Pros, because
I
when
remember. Tell this story. This is a great story.
Yeah. So I was just getting over a failed business, right? I had a marketing company, and I merged it into a software company that professed to do a manual J in 4 minutes or less. Of course, after I merged my marketing company, I found out that it was inaccurate manual J, and so it wasn't very helpful.
It was inaccurate.
It was inaccurate. It was
You
the
could
most
probably do an inaccurate manual J in 1 minute.
Exactly, it's incredible. And so, it was an interesting time, but it was also a terrible time to start a new business, right? 2008 in general was a terrible time to start a new business. But as I worked with a few clients that I had a roofing company, I had a plumbing company and a heating and cooling company, and there was one plumbing company, Nearing's Plumbing, Heating and Air. They also did heating and air. One of the things that they had me do for them is lead generation. I would help them do pay-per-click and SEO and that sort of thing. It's when it was first coming out. that sort of thing.
Yeah, not the thing I get 42 emails about a day now, right?
Yeah. And so
it's still cool back then.
it was awesome back then. And so we started generating leads this way for Troy at Near East Plumbing and Heating. And he called me in one day and he said, "Hey, your leads are no good." I said, "What do you mean my leads are no good?" Now, I only had a few clients, right? I was barely surviving. I needed this job. I needed this client. I couldn't afford for him to fire me. In fact, it was around that time where I found out that my youngest son had autism. He was just diagnosed with autism, and he needed speech therapy and ABA therapy, and all for the low price of $3,500 a month. And I was broke. So I needed this client to continue to work with me. And so Troy, he sat me down. He said, "Hey, these leads are no good." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? The leads are no good." He said, "Well, they just want a ballpark price. They just want to know what your charges come out. They just want to talk to a technician." And I said, "Well, those are people who want to fix their system, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, then those are leads. That's not the marketing."
Yeah, you know my philosophy. There are no bad leads.
Yeah.
Philosophy 2, all leads are not created equal. But winning question, see back to philosophy 1, there are no bad leads.
I love that.
Give me a lead.
Yeah, if they can fog a mirror, it's a lead.
Hey, it is what it is.
Bottom line.
You want a lead or no leads?
Exactly.
You want a bad lead or no leads?
Exactly.
I'll take the lead every time.
So I said to Troy, I said, "Hey, let me train your team. Let me train them on how to book the call while the customer, regardless of the type of lead that comes in. That way, we can keep it going. You don't have to fire me." And he's like, "You'd do that?" I said, "Yeah, I'll do it." Well, I started working with him, doing that, and his call conversions went up by 20%. Next thing you know, I start getting calls from all of his friends. Tom Robichaud from Precision Plumbing and Heating in Boulder, Colorado. In fact, Tom and Troy got together and they referred me to Micah Gugliero of Gold Medal in East Brunswick, New Jersey. The guy that started, CEO Warrior and so on and so forth, and sold Gold Medal for like $30 million or what have you. And back in the day, that was pretty freaking awesome, right?
Yeah. Those deals weren't happening every day.
No.
Now that's just a Tuesday.
Yeah. He pioneered this whole thing. And so we learned a lot as we went along. In fact, Mike said to me, he said, "If this works for me, if you can increase my call conversion, I'm going to refer you to everybody." And of course, that's how Power Improves grew in the beginning, is those three guys, Troy,
such a cool
Tom,
story.
and Mike just blew it up for us. And it was awesome, but it was uncovering something that needed to be fixed that nobody was fixing.
Right.
And the same's true today, right? And ever since Field Pro came out at Service Titan and Rilla and so on and so forth, and of course there's like 10 others now.
AI-driven listening softwares.
Yes. Now that we can record technicians, we're inundated with amazing data, but nobody has time to comb through that data and provide feedback on a regular basis. And of course, there's 4 technicians for every 1 CSR. Right. So since we started working and coaching with technicians, it's kind of gone gangbusters since then. But from the beginning, it's always been me recognizing a hole in the industry and filling that hole. Whether it's technicians, whether it's CSRs, whether it's the weekly meetings that we're not doing every week that we should be doing.
Yes.
We should be setting that standard and resetting it over and over and over again.
And I want to dig into that for a second, Brigham, because man, that is A++ content right there. And if people are, writing down notes at home, I want to make sure that we take a little longer to elaborate on that. So, I experienced as a business owner, entrepreneur. Chad and I started talking about it years ago. I saw it as a leader at Xerox for all those years. We as leaders are usually chasing the next shiny thing, right? So we spend months building out process, developing SOPs that could support that shiny thing. And then what inevitably happens is the second we take our eye off that ball to move on to the next thing that needs fixed, right? What happens?
It gets dropped.
It gets, unless someone owns it.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone has to own it, which has become our battle cry in end of 2025 into 2026. We know that's a huge opportunity for us this year as we stretch to grow drastically again, right? Is we can't drop the ball, because even when you drop it for a few months before you realize you dropped it, you come back, you say, like, how are we doing on that really important thing we talked about a year ago, and find out like, well, we stopped doing it. What do you mean we stopped doing it? Well, you stopped talking about it. Well, just because I stopped talking about it didn't mean I wasn't interested. It mean I had to go talk about other things, right? We needed to fix the next problem. I thought that hole in the boat was plugged. I didn't know we pulled the plug out right after I walked away, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing, that someone has to own it. And for you, what that's meant for us is Brigham can own some of these things. We don't necessarily have to go hire 20 more people and put them on our payroll. Hiring people is expensive. Having people on your payroll is expensive. Now, we love a people-driven business, so I'll hire people all day. We have 100 plus coworkers now, but it's not always the right solution. We had a conversation about this earlier this morning. Like, hiring people and throwing people at problems is not always the right answer, and it's a very expensive solution usually. So, but dissecting backwards, like, okay, so how can we fill these deficiencies, and are we better off to do it in-house? and have to build that out from scratch? Or are we better off to go outside the organization and maybe talk to someone who's very specialized in this, who's very good at what they do, which is what you are and what Power Selling Pros is? So we've been able to offline our outboard, whatever you want to call it, our technician coaching programs. We record everything through Field Pro. You guys then listen to that data. It receives AI feedback, and then you guys work with our technicians to coach them on the conversations they're having, which has been a game changer for us. These are techs in the field running service calls, by the way.
Yeah.
Game changer. I think a lot of people probably don't even know that's available, but it is, and it's incredible. You've worked with our CSRs for years. Definitely helped us to bridge a gap. We brought a CSR manager on last year who now you guys work with her to coach her and her team and help hold them accountable to those expectations. And we saw our numbers just skyrocket. And I hear what you hear time and time again. I go to conferences and we talk about this and we talk about you, right? And we go out and visit people and do on-sites, and they come here and do on-sites, and like, how are you guys able to get to, what's your booking rate? And I tell them our booking rate. They're like, holy cow, how do you guys get that? I was like, I don't. I talked to Brigham, and I talked to Brigham's team, and they're the ones doing that because we don't have every day to spend focusing on that. But these are the lifeblood of our business. They're one of the most important departments we have. Nobody else gets a chance until they do their job well, right? The sales team, the installers, the service techs don't get a chance until a CSR executes first. So it truly, go ask a sales guy who the most important guy in the organization is. Who's he going to tell you?
It's the sales guy. It's me.
Exactly. If I go and ask the marketing guy who's the most important guy in the organization.
Totally me.
Technicians, installers. But truly, if we all got in a room and took some truth serum, we'd all have to agree that the most important person organizationally is the CSR. They have to do their job well, or nobody else gets a shot. So
That's right.
You'll know the numbers better than me because I got a gazillion things flying through my brain. I think first we looked at the data 3 years ago when we first started working with you on our CSR team, which we'd already done some coaching, but we got very analytical.
You thought you were at like 40%, and you weren't. We went in and we said, no,
we were putting data in wrong.
Exactly.
Which you guys helped us to get the data right. The way we were classifying calls, abandonment rates, the way we were, sometimes canceling calls and stuff. So,
and you guys were above average. We were like 65%.
Yeah, we knew we were above average. And what differentiates us from many contractors is that's never good enough. Chad and I have a little saying, always happy, never satisfied, right? So we dug into that, found out we were at
65-ish is what I remember.
Yeah, that seems like that's a good number. And now, via your team, via
we're
weekly coaching session, daily feedback sharings, me meeting with your team weekly for a recap call, recap summaries. I love the new portal where you guys are dumping all the reviews in there so we can track them. Where are we at?
You're in the 90s.
Organizationally, in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I could go spend what's the average cost of a lead these days in the HVAC business?
Good question.
I hear between $400 and $800, and it's about $1,500 to win a new customer, right? Is the numbers I've heard thrown around. So let's say go super conservative. Let's say it's $200 to $500 for a marketed lead, and now it's $1,000 to win a new customer, right? How much more do you have to spend to generate the same results you can generate with what's already there? And that's something that Chad and I have been saying for years. Like, you probably don't have a call volume issue, right? There's a good chance you don't. If you're at 42% booking rate, you definitely don't have a call volume issue.
No.
You have a booking issue. You have a communication issue, right?
Yeah. And it's not just about booking the call. I mean, there's certain AI that can book calls these days, right? But what about turning a service call into a replacement call? What about creating such an amazing experience over the phone that by the time they hang up, they're actually done shopping? Yeah. Right? You don't want to be one of 5 bids. I mean, I've done that. I've played that game myself. I've been with technicians in the field where I've had to be one of 5 bids. And the first thing I did was go into the call center and say, you guys, you need to set us up for success. Right. It is not just about booking the call. I want you to go in, create such an amazing experience that you become 911 and there's no 912. We are it. I want to be the only one that goes out there. So it's more than that, right?
Yeah.
A cool thing about AI is it'll capture whatever we don't get to.
Yeah.
But if we have a high performer that can get to that call and basically educate the desire of the homeowner from what they wanted when they first called, hey, I want you to fix my system,
right,
to what they really need. And what they might need is instead of propane to heat their home, they might need a heat pump. Yeah. And chances are they do, because it's going to save them a ton of money on their electricity, on their power bill, right? On their propane bill.
Right.
They won't have a propane bill anymore. Right? Or it'll be lesser than it was before. And I've seen people save literally thousands of dollars of that. It could be as simple as they've got dogs in their house and they have 0 air scrubbers. They have no UV lights. They don't even know that it exists, right? They might have purchased something from Costco to purify the air in one specific room or what have you. Or they're literally filling their humidifiers right? The ones you fill with water on a regular basis.
Yeah.
They're living this quality of life, right? Our goal is not just to maintain quality of life, but to elevate quality of
To
life.
enhance it, correct.
Yeah. So whether it's over the phone or in the home, that's the objective. That's the goal. And it's not about selling things. I love that you mentioned selling earlier, right? The only thing I want to sell is their power, their ability to act in the right way, especially when nobody's looking.
Yes.
Right?
And we share that passion. It's education and options. It's not selling. Selling happens as a product. It's a byproduct of giving customers a really good education. They're giving them accurate options, right?
Yeah.
And then let them make the decision. Whatever
Exactly.
they want to do is going to be right for them.
Exactly. And if you don't have time to do that in-house, to provide that accountability, and funny thing about AI is that they're selling a product, AI companies in general are selling a product that's kind of half-baked because they say, hey, look, here's all this amazing data.
Yeah.
And as one service manager over 20 technicians, good luck combing through all that data. Even if you do have something specific where you can type in and look for specific things, it's just overwhelming.
Yes.
It's overwhelming. So to have somebody else who owns it on a regular basis to comb through that data, provide feedback on a regular basis, and make sure that that customer journey is spot on every time, whether it's over the phone and in the home, is super helpful. And again, it's just like one of those holes that we tend to see, and our goal is to kind of fill that hole and make sure that it's being taken care of and owned.
I love it. And I view every conversation, much like your journey through Brazil, as like it's an evolution, right? And like this communications thing and identifying weaknesses in your business, like this whole thing is an evolution. Like I get frustrated when I think about the things in 5 years. I'm going to look back on and be like, I wish I was doing that in 2026, you know? But we can't go back, but we can make changes today that make us better. So I think about like where we've come working alongside of you, and how the second we were able to fill the void of like, you know, identifying why we weren't booking calls even. And sometimes it became evident to us that like we didn't really have always the most captivating reasons as to why we were the best choice. And so we started building out the programs that made us the best choice so that we could have conviction. Like I'll be honest, part of the reason I feel so passionate that we should book every single call is because I don't feel as though any other company is going to take as good a care of you in the market as we will. And I can confidently say that. You can tell I'm convicted when I say that because I know what we've invested. In our Measure Quick processes, we're deploying probes on every single call. It's a very expensive investment, but now you're showing customers data. You're not offering opinions, right? We've all seen those Dateline stories where the HVAC guy comes in and hustles customers. Like, we will never become that kind of organization. Like, I want to show you data. I want to deploy the probes and show you where the system's failing so that you can make an educated decision. We're going to run TEC True Flow Air Grid. We're going to use technology like Conduit to be able to do a full load calc, a manual J in less than 30 seconds, right? Not 4 minutes. And it'll actually be accurate, Brigham, or at least close to. So we developed a 5,000 square foot training lab. We developed a partnership with the state of Ohio. We're doing their training, their continuing ed. We have the Tech Prep program, the first collegiate university association with an HVAC company through Walsh University. Like, this is what we're doing. So am I passionate about why we're the best company for you? Hell yeah, I am.
Yeah,
because if I can't communicate that to you, then I'm forcing you to go to a company that I know can't do what we're going to do for you. They can't back it with the warranties and the support and the guarantees and the confidence and the training and the education that we're going to provide for you. So I'm defensive of that, not for my sake, for yours. I know we're the best company. I want you to know we're the best company so I can come out and give you killer service.
And when you do that, when you provide that kind of service, you have homeowners that are defending you. In fact, you don't need to defend yourself anymore.
Right.
Because they're defending you because of the experience that you create.
100%.
The cool thing about what you're describing, and this is extremely important, I really hope that listeners are in tune to this part of it. When you go to Disney, you pay more and you wait in long lines. Imagine that for a moment. All the things that we think could never happen, right? You could never be successful in business if you make people wait.
That's like Walt's on my list, man.
Yeah.
Crazy visionary.
You
right?
wait longer, you pay more, and you do it because of the experience they create. The same is true for Chick-fil-A. You wait longer,
that's true.
you
Kathy,
pay
another
more
one.
because of the experience they create. And why is that? It's because the handshake of the host affects the taste of the roast. And what you just described, what you just explained is how you go about providing that experience. And that's how you justify your price. And even if they have to wait, because you guys, if they're waiting for you, chances are everybody else is busy too, which means they're going to have to wait regardless. And if they're going to wait, well, then they might as well wait for you. And so your objective is create such an amazing experience for that customer that they are willing to wait and they are willing to pay more and they will defend your price.
Yeah. I love the Disney comparison and the Disney analogy that people are willing to pay to wait in long lines, pay more, right? And if you think about why that is, so this is something we went deep down the rabbit hole with. I first read the book by Simon Sinek, Start With Why, probably 8 years ago, shortly after it came out, I think. And it was transformational for me. And it was also guilty of becoming one of those things that worked so well that I stopped doing it for a while, which was starting with why. So thinking back to like the Xerox days, again, I knew we were really good at always describing what we did. And we were always good at teaching and getting people to understand how we did it. And there's 3 components though, and the third is with the why. And it's really the most compelling. It's the most important of the 3 things, but it's the one that we usually focus on the least. And it, again, back to what we've talked about, Brigham, and this is such an important thing to understand. It requires a certain level of vulnerability to admit that I don't always have all the answers, right? And I think business owners feel compelled to make sure their team thinks they do when you don't. And that's something that's always differentiated Chad and I. I remember going to one of my first home service expos, and I sat in all these breakouts and listened to person after person after person proclaim to be the guru. And I got it all figured out. And then I went to my second year, and they admitted all the stuff that they were wrong about the year before in some cases. And like, well, I thought, but now I got it figured out. And I'm thinking like, they're going to stand here next year and say like, I thought again, but I was wrong, right? Like, so I got asked to speak at one of those large expos. It was one of the first speaking engagements I had in our industry, which was cool. That wasn't something that I did a lot with Xerox. So now I get to do it pretty frequently, which was cool. I'm like, people actually are interested in the stuff I say. Like,
Well, of course.
that's neat. All right.
So I've been trying to tell you.
Yeah. And I love to share it because, again, I've learned from a lot of other people's mistakes and the things they've read and done. So starting with this Simon Sinek book, right? I got on stage and I said, like, listen, I'm not a guru. I'm the first person here that's probably going to tell you that if you're looking for a guru or someone who has all the answers, go to another breakout because there's plenty of those people here, right? You can hit 100 of them with a 9-iron right now, but that's not me. What I am here to do is share our experiences and some of the things we do well and tell you some of the road bumps we've hit along the way and help you to do it more fluent than we have, and also be a resource for you because at some point I'm going to need something from you probably, and I love expanding my professional business network. And it was so funny because I would watch these breakouts, and after the breakouts were over, people would just kind of scamper out of the room, right? And the speaker was just kind of standing up there, right? They'd always give that parting, hey, I'll be here for a few minutes if you want to. Right. And sometimes people go engage them, but most of the time they're walking out.
Sure.
So this is my breakout. It was in Vegas. It was at the Hilton, the big resort up in the North End there. So the speech is over, the 1-hour segment, and all of a sudden I had a line. I had a line of 30 people. I'm trading names. It's right. The rest of the week, people are stopping me in the hallways. And it was over and over again. People said, like, dude, it was so refreshing to hear someone say they were not the expert. They weren't the gurus. Like I needed to hear that because I'm trying to improve my business. And it's so intimidating to be in a room with people who all proclaim to have it figured out.
Right.
But I see someone who's super successful right now, whose business is thriving and growing, who's willing to admit they don't. And it gives me hope that I can, also be successful, but I just need to, talk to you more and change some things. And you could sort through real quickly the same way you do in your business ventures, the ones that will execute. The reality is a lot of people, that's probably going to be their most inspired moment of the year. They like go out of there with good intentions. I'm going to charge the mountain and conquer the world. And then by the time they get home, they've lost a lot of steam and I'll do it next week, right? It's like, what's the New Year's resolution stat? Like 30% of people don't last more than 10 days. And I think only like 10% or less finish their New Year's resolution.
Especially with health. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And why is that? You hit on it earlier. Why did you almost leave Brazil? Because it was hard.
It's super hard. Yeah.
It's hard to hold yourself
Super
accountable.
hard.
It's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to tell your team you don't always know everything. But one thing Chad and I have found is when we start with the why, and this really started probably 2 years ago, your team, to your point a minute ago, so bring this plane in for a landing here, they get behind you. They support you. When you go to them and you say, like, listen, this is the reason why we're doing it. I can explain to you the what and the how. I can do that in 2 seconds, right? I can give you a manual that'll teach you the what and the how. But I need to get you to understand the why. If you understand the why, then you'll lay on the railroad tracks for me. Because there's a good reason we're asking you to do this. Otherwise, we wouldn't ask you to do it. If we don't have a captivating why, then we don't do it, plain and simple.
Yes.
But if we can get you to buy into the why, then you absolutely are bought in. So we sit with people and, in large rooms, oftentimes we deliver a message of like, let me first explain to you where our business is at and what we're trying to accomplish. And now let me tell you the why behind, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you next. And the amount of buy-in we've got since we've switched to that, like lead with why, has been incredible. And so our business has become so more frictionless. And we have saved so much time from then having to have these one-off conversations as to why we're asking you to follow this new process or why we developed the standard operating procedure, right? Like it just became awesome. And I'm sure you've seen that time and time and time again, right? In business.
Yeah. You you're selling your coworkers.
We are collaborating.
Yeah.
We're getting them to understand, like,
Yeah,
this is our game.
You're being very influential, getting them on the same page and getting them behind your mission. Whether you like it or not, you're selling.
Yeah.
And I love it too, because once they are sold, in other words, bought in. See, when you're selling something, they buy in. So we could use whatever nomenclature you want to use or lexicon, but at the end of the day, that's essentially what it is. Is that
you're right?
We get really focused on the end result, but it's their job to create the end result.
Right.
It's your job to help them get there emotionally.
And help me explain to folks, Brigham, why this is so important, especially now. Is the workforce today the same as the workforce 40 years ago?
No.
What's changed?
Well, a lot has changed. I would say that. I mean, I don't want to pick it on any generation.
No. Let me clarify this so that I want people to understand. Workers 40 years ago were a beast. They just showed up. They hated their jobs, but they did it because their dad did it and their grandpa did it, and they would grind it out.
And you have to work.
And did they need the why?
No.
You tell me what and how and when you want me here, and I will be early and I will stay late if needed, and the job will get done, and it will get done well, right? That was the old worker, which there's nothing to be ashamed of with that. Those guys were grinders. They also didn't have all the distractions, right, that we've created for ourselves that also enhance the workplace if we use those tools wisely. But now what do the workers face? What do we see in the workforce right now? Primarily workers.
They have options.
Many options.
They have options and a lot of choices, and there's a shortage of people that want to do what we're doing, unless we can convince them that this is the most amazing job on the planet.
And what do they want more than anything?
A reason why.
A why. They want to be part of something special.
Something bigger than themselves.
It's crazy, isn't it? They're not fighting for that next week of vacation. They're not fighting for the $1 an hour raise. There's a certain monetary need that has to be fulfilled always, right? And if you're a fair employer, you're always ahead of that. But they need to feel as though they're part of something. And I've had this conversation with many people that say, like, it sucks employing millennials and zennials and these folks because they're so difficult and they're so hard to communicate with. Do you see that, Steve? And I'm always very defensive of those people.
They're the best.
I'm like, no, I love our boomers. We have a lot of boomers that work for us. I love, I know you walk into a lot of HVAC companies and it's 95% men. And I'm like, you need to go hire some women. Women are fantastic organizationally. We're close to a 50-50 split here across our businesses. Like, you need to diversify because this is what makes our organization so dynamic. We have all these different thought processes, but what I've found, and I want to know your opinion, if you can get these millennials, zennials, this younger generation,
get them to believe.
If you can get them to understand the why, they will run through walls for you.
Yeah. If you can get them to believe in what you're doing, yes, the reason why behind it, they are amazing. They are amazing.
So what's the trick? How do you get them to understand the why?
So
as a business owner, entrepreneur,
you
leader,
need to believe
parent.
the why yourself. If all you're doing is talking about money, you're missing the boat.
100% agree with that.
So I would avoid the word sales. I would avoid profit. I would avoid money. Instead, I would focus in on doing a great job and feeling good about the job that you did and the reason why you went to those lengths to get it done in the way that we've taught you. Otherwise, these people are just going to go through the motions.
Right.
So I don't use the word sales at all, even though you and I are using it, because we get it. Right.
Internal memo.
Exactly.
Internal memo.
Exactly. And especially for the audience, which is business owners and managers and leaders in general. It is about influence. It's certainly not about manipulation. It's certainly not about control. And there's a difference between those.
Absolutely.
And so being a good communicator, being a good educator, is paramount. For a leader today, and because you really don't need. Let me just say this. So as soon as I had that experience on my mission, I walked out of that house completely changed. I was a new person. To give you an example, my prayers changed. You see, before that experience, you remember who I was praying about, right? I was praying about me. Dear God, help me. But after that experience, I realized it wasn't about me at all. Steve, it's not about me. It's not about me. As soon as I came to that realization,
It's a novel concept,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. As soon as I came to, and in a way, as soon as I came to myself, you see, the reason why I was feeling that depression, and not to say anything, I'm not a shrink or a counselor or what have you, and I'm not giving any sort of advice. I'm simply sharing my experience. That depression began to leave as soon as I stopped thinking about myself.
Yeah, you defined a purpose. You developed a purpose.
My why.
Yeah.
My why. And I recognized in that moment that my objective and my purpose was to serve other people while I was there. And then my prayers began to change, and I started praying for them.
Yeah.
I prayed for them. I prayed
stuff.
for their families. And as soon as I started thinking about them, all of a sudden the language just came.
Yeah.
It just came. It was a miracle. And in fact, I was at Disney over the holidays, and there was a gal from Brazil there, and it just, boom, came back to me like it was yesterday I was speaking it. And I don't get to practice as often as I used to, but it's still there. It's still ingrained in me, right? It's a part of me.
Yes.
But same thing in 2008 when, I was trying to keep Troy Nearings as a client. I focused on what he needed, right? Zig Ziglar said, in order to get what you want, you've got to help enough other people get what they want. As soon as I heard that, and I saw him say that in person,
Yeah.
right? When he said that, and even though there's 20,000 people there, I felt like he was saying it to me, right at me, right? It's amazing how he was able to do that. But
it's a gift.
Yeah, but from that moment on, and whether it was 2008, whether it was COVID, when things started coming down, and there's 50 clients that said, "Hey, we got to put things on hold," the very first thing I asked myself was, "Wait a minute, what does everybody need?" And then I called in a company meeting. I said, "You guys, they need us more than ever." And I said, "Look, if they don't want to pay anymore, that's okay. Tell them don't worry about it. Don't worry about compensation at all. Let us continue to coach you. Let us continue to coach your team, because guess what? You need us more than ever right now." And we did that for 3 months while everything was kind of topsy-turvy. And when they called back and they said, "Hey, I'm ready to pay now," that was the coolest experience for all of us. They were like, "This is amazing, right? Wait a minute, Brigham, you're going to do this? We're going to offer these services for her?" I said, "Yes, because they need us now more than ever," right? And it just came down to that focus. It's not about me. It's not about me. And as soon as
have you ever taken time to think about, deeper into that? I'm sure you have. I know you're a thoughtful person. Like what that coaching provided for those individuals in terms of job stability, additional income opportunities, confidence. I mean, imagine if you suck at your job and you go home every day knowing you sucked at it, that's not good, right? Going home and yelling at the dog and screaming at your kids because you had a bad day at work. Like you gave them the ability to be good at their jobs, to communicate better, to succeed, to get raises, to, again, feel stability in their job. Like, have you ever taken the time to think about what you did for those people at a deeper level?
The answer for heating and cooling companies during that time was to reach out to their customers, their homeowners, and ask how they can help, whether it's toilet paper, whether it's just kind of a helping hand around the house, because they're now spending more time than they ever have before in their home.
Right.
So being able to focus in on that specific need and kind of transmit that need through my team, right? It went from me getting my team on board, right, with that idea, and then my team transmitting that same message to our contractors, and of course the contractors transmitting that same message to the homeowner. To be able to make that happen where we were really zeroed in on our why, right? Really zeroing in on our purpose. I mean, that's when Power Slam Pros exploded. That's when we really started growing.
And we share the same story. So it seems as though it's either a fluke that we both benefited from, or maybe there's something to the start with why thing, especially with the modern day workforce and the importance of getting them bought in. I'll tell you, like, organization, you can't grow a business if you've got people running out the back door as fast as they're coming through the front door. It's just impossible. You need your talent. You need to get them bought in. And when you can, like, the magic that's created is great. And you'll occasionally hire people, again, we don't know it all, that won't fit your culture. And you have to be willing to move on those folks fast, right? You hire, what do they say? Hire fast, fire fast. Like, I don't agree with that. I say hire fast, develop, train, invest, get them to understand the why, and then make a decision. But you got to also sometimes be willing to assess, like, is it because I'm not communicating well with this person? What's the breakdown here? And at some point you've gone through all the steps and it still doesn't work, then you move on from that individual. And to me, that's not a bad conversation. You just say like, hey, for whatever reason, this just isn't a good fit. I'm sure you feel it. It's not working here. You don't come to work every day looking to excel the way that others are. So organizationally, I think it makes sense for you to go find that thing, right? Like this isn't it for you. Everybody in life deserves to be happy and do something they're good at, and this isn't working. So you need to go take the time to find that thing that motivates you to set the alarm every day and get out of bed. And I'm blessed. I think you're very blessed that we found that thing. I wake up every day without an alarm. 5 a.m., I'm ready to go. You see the energy I bring in the morning, day, night, it stays there and then I crash at 10 o'clock. And wake up the next day and do it all again. But I
it's
love
fun
it.
that way.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. I went to bed last night giddy that you were coming to town today, that we were going to record this podcast, thinking about my day, hopefully get to grab lunch with a couple other colleagues here in a little bit. Like, I'm excited, man. I'm ready to go. I had a great day yesterday. It was jam-packed. It was absolute chaos. And most people look at it and say, like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think you're exactly the same way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say that
then I look at guys like Tommy and I'm like, Jesus, like I'm a bum. How's this guy doing it, man? Are you kidding me?
Well, funny thing, we all live a very specific way, the way that you've just described. And for all of us, the results are different. But in general, the results are good.
Yeah.
Right? The type of good, right? His zeros may be more than my zeros in our bank account. But at the end of the day, our lives are really, really good when we're focused on the people that we work with and the people that we serve. One of the best things you can do as a leader, especially to create hope like this, similar to what you're trying to do with this podcast. I mean, your objective is to create hope, and that's beautiful, right? With your team, especially if you know you've got an ego issue, and this is kind of getting back to what we were talking about before, if you have the ability to recognize one thing that you know you can do better, and you can sit down with your team and say, hey, guys, mea culpa.
I need your help.
Yeah, I was wrong here. And my objective is to make it right. If you can go in and take responsibility, you'd be amazed at how much more you'll see your team also begin to take responsibility as well. And when that happens inside your organization, it's a beautiful thing. You'll begin to grow like never before.
And if you think about that in terms of, I'm a sports guy, right? Like organization, the company, the teams that go on to become dynasties, that's a common theme. That's woven through the fibers of their culture, right? Like from GM to third string linemen, they take ownership. They all have a job to do. They understand the why. They don't blame. They don't point fingers. They're bought in, and it's a strong organization from the ground up. And you take that and adapt it to HVAC or any other business. It's the exact same way. That's why I love sports. Sports parallel life, right? A lot of people think I'm just a sports junkie, and to some degree I am, but it's because I think sports teach us a lot of the lessons we need to learn in business and life, right? Like, why did Brigham need to stay in Brazil? Because it was hard. At 19, you need to do hard shit. You need to do it often, and you need to learn how to push through. I had this conversation with my 19-year-old godson when he quit football, and I went to breakfast with him the first time. I talked him into going back out, or at least gave him some better perception or whatever. And I said, why do you want to quit? He's like, because it sucks. It's hard. I got to get up every morning, lift weights. I got to practice. It's hot. I sweat a lot. I don't like it. It's hard. He's like, why do you think I should keep playing? And I said, because it's hard. Yeah. Like, if you get in a habit of it 17, 18 years old, stopping every time it gets hard, that becomes habitual. It becomes a thing that you become so comfortable doing. Like, and then what are you going to do? You're just going to quit your first job? You're going to quit your marriage? You're going to quit your fatherhood? Like, you learn to push through hard things. You have to be able to train your mind to see obstacles as a challenge, something I want to overcome. I got to learn how to navigate through them, not barriers. The second you see them as barriers, you're toast, man. You become victim. And this is something I talk about all the time. You've heard me talk about it. I talk to my wife at home about it all the time. Like, we are not victims. I will never allow myself or anyone in my inner circle to become a victim, because a victim means I just have to sit back and accept my fate. Are you okay with that, Brigham?
No.
I want to own it. I want to own my fate.
Yeah.
I want to take ownership in it. If I screw up, I want to know it's because I screwed up. I was encouraging action and initiating things that resulted in whatever, but I know I'm also good enough and vulnerable enough to adapt quickly so that we can avoid disaster. But I absolutely think that's essential, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. When you were talking there's things that, and this is what a good teacher and a good educator does, is when they teach, when they talk, when they're communicating that why to their team, things come to their mind. What was coming to my mind just when you were talking? M&M, one shot, one opportunity, Apollo Creed when he told Rocky, there is no tomorrow, though there is no tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Those are the things that were going through my head, and that's what a good teacher does. That's what a good teacher does in general, is when they speak, when they teach, when they educate. These thoughts are what comes to the listener's mind, right? So yeah, I'm.
That's why I gravitate to people like you, because I know you're just similar mindset. I love Tommy, man. What a brilliant guy.
Totally.
I love his energy, his passion. There's so many people in the industry. I don't want to start name dropping or people get offended, right? They're like, well, why did he say my name? But,
I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. But I know you have a relationship with him. You're talking about how you're going out to see him here soon. So I thought, drop him. But just high level, high energy people who do it the right way. It's not all about them and what they're trying to accomplish. It's about who they're serving. And you see this, again, a theme woven into the fabric of their culture with Tommy. I know he's big on performance-based pay and like, hey, if you want your people to own it, then give them a piece of the pie, right? And I love that, because organization, I feel the same way. It shouldn't be a top down. It should be a like all together type mentality. So listen, man, we could talk for days. This could be a 6-hour podcast episode. I think, a goal of an hour is already over. We're well past that, but I'm going to keep rolling because I got to ask the main question first. But I want to make sure you and I do this again. I'm going to use this as a bait to get Brigham out to Ohio more often. A day like today, it's like Utah anyways, right? Nice little
same.
Cool rainy day. So, but I want to dig into that conversation about Chick-fil-A and what S. Truett Cathy built there in Walt Disney. And it's such a good conversation. I want to talk to you about that more, but not today. Today, I got to ask the question because we got to bring this plane in for a landing at some point.
Sure.
So thinking back to your life, I think we heard a little bit about a challenging day, and certainly a challenging time when you were 19 years old in Brazil, and how that became a defining moment. But I know that you saved for me the best story, which is what was the toughest day, a tough day where maybe you thought you were going to lose your business or your family or something was at stake. And I want to know more about that day and what you thought you might lose if that day didn't turn out better.
Yeah. So my parents, my parents are amazing people, but my dad worked at a mushroom plant. So all through my adolescence, Dad worked in a mushroom plant for $8.50 an hour. He was a professional forklift driver. And, so we were poor. And being poor has always been a fear of mine, right? So
common theme amongst entrepreneurs, by the way, right?
Yeah.
We all share that. I call it professional paranoia.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how successful you become. There's still that fear in the back of your head. I don't know why that is.
Always.
It's so ridiculous.
Try to kill it, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Some business owners try to drown it.
I write a list of all the things that I've done that, it's terrible. It's terrible. But
it's what makes you who you are and why you're here today and why you're driven every day. Though,
it has to be.
You kill that voice and you don't become you anymore.
Yeah. I mean, when I first got off my mission, I was super sad because I loved what I was doing. I loved teaching, but I thought to myself, dude, teachers don't get paid very well, so I can't be a teacher.
Oh, ditto. Exact same.
Wow.
Couldn't accomplish my financial goals if I would have done it, but absolutely would have loved the feeling.
And funny how we figured out a way to still be teachers.
Is that what we are? Does that mean I can hit my students?
Like it or not. I'm certain. So
your dad's working his tail off for $8.50 an hour, driving a forklift.
Yeah. So I had this idea in 2007 that I would, and I alluded to this earlier, that I would merge my marketing company into this CRM company. And I moved my family from Utah to Florida. We put everybody in U-Haul and moved everybody there, 4 kids, wife, right? And we were renting this house. It was a nice house. I figured, you know what? I'm going to be a gazillionaire with this new company. It's going to be amazing. So we're going to splurge and rent this really nice house with a pool and rooms for all of us and so on and so forth. And I remember buying a really nice table that we had for a kitchen table. And I made some serious financial mistakes based on what I projected was going to happen. And of course, we know the end of that story. It went kaput, right? It was done in 5 months. And I can remember paying my employees and not paying myself. And I did that for several months before we went under. And there was one day where I didn't even want to get out of bed. I said to my wife, don't make me go to work. Of course, she wasn't making me go to work. I felt obligated as the provider to go and figure out a way to provide, even though that I wasn't providing. I felt like I was completely failing, and I felt like my worst fears, the fears that I grew up with, right, that my kids were now going to have to go through the same thing that I went through when I was a kid, and it was the worst feeling I've ever felt in my life.
You allowed that victim mindset to creep in a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, that night, I was talking to my father-in-law, and he was offering me money. And the only thing I could think of is how when I was asking his daughter's hand in marriage, I was asking for his permission, his blessing.
Right.
First thing he asked is how are you going to provide? And it was a worthy question, because I was still in college at the time and I wasn't making much money. And he said, "Well, wait a minute, you're going to marry her? How are you going to provide? What's going on here? Like, this is
good, man. I know how to speak Portuguese."
And I just reassured him. I remember reassuring him that it was going to be fine, that money wasn't going to be an issue. So when he offered me money on that day, I felt like a complete and total and utter failure. And I can remember graciously thanking him. You know what? Thank you so much. I really appreciate you offering. I feel like I can, I'm going to be all right. We're going to be all right. It's going to be okay. And I reassured him with, whatever lies I was telling to get him off the phone. And I remember hanging up the phone, and I threw the phone on the ground, and I dropped to my knees and cried like I've never cried before. And I don't know how to explain what that means. I've never cried like that. It was a forsaken cry.
It was your moment.
It was awful.
It's a defining moment.
Yeah, and my second daughter, Faye, heard me crying. She was probably 10 at the time, maybe younger. She comes into the room and she's like, "Dad, what is going on?" She puts her arms around me and just kind of consoles me as I'm sobbing. And I put myself together, and I simply said, "Hey, sweetheart, Dad's just having a rough time, but it's going to be okay." And she said, "Do you want to pray?"
Your little daughter.
Yeah. And I said, yeah. And we knelt there and prayed.
Oh man, you're giving me chills, Brigham. Giving me chills over here, man. That's an incredible story. And then of course now you look back, and I bet, have you ever had a chance to tell that story on stage before?
I don't know, not in that detail.
And that is the spirit of why we're doing this.
Yeah.
That was a defining moment for you. What happened after that day?
Oh, it was
your ass was on fire.
It was Rocky Balboa, baby.
Yeah.
I went to a Barnes and Noble and bought a bunch of self-help books, most of them by Jeff Gitomer.
Familiar with him? Zig Ziglar a little bit. You said?
Definitely Zig Ziglar. And I was listening to gospel stuff like crazy. I needed God in my life more than ever. Funny how pain does that. But
can draw you real close, real fast, can it?
Yeah. And of course, after that, that's when the experience with Troy Nearings occurred. But of course, I was ready. I had this idea of a will, the pattern for excellence that I use now.
Yeah.
8 principles, 1 outcome. I had that all written on a piece of paper. In fact, when I had that all written and put together, Troy said, "Well, wait a minute. What are you going to teach my CSRs?" And I showed him that thing that he saw the first version of it.
Sketch.
It was all penciled, and he looked at it and he's like, "Okay."
Hey, I work with Chad, so I'm used to that. That's how we still do a lot of things.
Yeah, but it was all that. And when I wrote that, I wrote that I moved myself back to Utah. My family was still in Florida till I could figure out where we were going to live back in Utah, and so on and so forth. But I was on a cot in my brother-in-law's basement when I first drew that. And so 3 days later, when I was at Troy's, begging him to keep the advertising going so that I could have an income. Of course, I wasn't showing that I was begging, but in my inside, I was like, "Please don't fire me, right? I'll train your team. I'll train your CSRs. They'll book these calls. They'll wow these customers." But that was all created out of a very
dark place,
dark, deep place. Yeah.
What a cool story, though. And I sit here as you tell that story, and I think about, like, you thought you were at your lowest, but I don't know if you even realized telling the story, like, as your beautiful, healthy daughter comes in to give you a hug and say, let's pray together, like, you were still in a really good spot.
Yeah.
I don't know if you realize that, but obviously having the healthier family and a home to, call your safe haven, and having this little girl who could embrace you, and apparently was raised well enough to know exactly where to go whenever there was an issue, right? Let's go to prayer. So it's pretty cool to know that was your low, but even then, I don't know that it was as low as you probably felt it was in the moment. And I say that because in hindsight, you can see that now. And many people can't move past that moment, right? And they don't realize just how good it still is, and more importantly, how good the days ahead can be. And if you could look back now, I mean, did you have any idea what this would turn into over the next couple decades, the past couple decades?
No idea.
It's been an amazing journey, right?
Yeah, God knew. It was transformation time.
He had a plan, man. My fear becomes I'm going to screw that plan up. So that's always like, hey, don't let me screw it up. Please don't let me miss the blinding flash of obvious that you put before me. And you've heard that story about the guy who was trapped on the island and the water's rising and he's about to drown. And he says, God help. Have you heard this story?
No, but I think I get the gist.
Yeah, God, send me help, right? And all of a sudden the cruise ship comes by like, hey, jump on board. No, I'm okay. God's going to help me.
God's got me.
Next guy comes over on a helicopter a day later, water's rising. Hey, you need some help? No, I'm good. God's going to save me. Waters rise, guys drown. He goes to heaven. God, what happened? I was praying. I thought you were going to come save me. He says, I sent a cruise ship and a helicopter. What more do you want? Right? That guy wasn't even bright enough to see what God was doing. And I fear that sometimes I'm going to miss those messages. And I think that's that voice we talked about earlier, that little paranoia in the back of your head where you're like, God, man, like, just let me not squander any opportunity. And that is a paranoia that I hope I never kill. Again, I know some people try to drink that voice away or smoke it away or whatever else. I'm like, no, not me, because I want that voice. That's what drives me. That's what makes me wake up every day and be a person of action, and that fear of, a victim mindset when I see, and that's really what motivates me more about social media than anything, is I see people turning to that victim mindset. I'm like, no, I don't like the way that looks, and I don't like the way that would ever feel for me. So I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to wake up every day, and it sounds cheesy and cliche, but it's that carpe diem mindset, man. I'm going to own it. I'm going to seize the day. This is my day, and nobody's going to take that away from me. And again, I love that you're willing to come on with me, man, and share that, because I think you and I are so like-minded when it comes to that. We'll jump on the phone for a 5-minute call, and like an hour later, you and I are like conquering the world. Like, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And I think what you've given me is the ability to execute, much like we have with this podcast. That's in large part thanks to you and so many of the other processes. So appreciate the time. Again, we got to come back for round 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you
My
in?
pleasure. Let's do it. I'm in.
Awesome. And I know we have a great guest list, many people that you know that are going to be on the show. So hopefully people tune in and listen. I know we're easing into this thing. I think it'll only get better and better. But again, look forward to round 2 with you. In the meantime, if people want to get a hold of you, Brigham, I think you have a ton of value. And while all guests that come on the show aren't going to be quite as accessible to everyone that listens, you are accessible. Yeah. How can people get a hold of you? What can they do? Yeah,
and I appreciate that. If you just go to powersellingpros.com, so POWERSELLINGPROS.com, so powersellingpros.com. If you want to learn more, it's a great place to go. In fact, you can click on a link. It's a big, beautiful link on the front page. And you click on it, and you can go through a demo with a member of our team, and we can walk you through what we do and how we do it and how we fill those holes and those gaps that need to be filled.
Awesome. So fill that in. If at some point you get connected with Brigham, let him know that you were watching the One Tough Day podcast or listening in, and that was how you heard about him. And I'm sure him and his team will do a great job of taking care of you. So we're going to put a wrap on today. I know that we drug it out a little longer than what we planned, but I feel like it was such a good conversation, man. Like, again, it flies, doesn't it? When we spend time together, I feel like it was 10 minutes and G's in our ears saying, come on, guys, this thing's stretching out. So I'm like, we can't stop now. Push through. But thanks again for listening, guys. Like I said, we have a great guest list coming. Tune in, follow us. Make sure that you stay tuned. We'll be dropping it on socials, through the Apple Podcast Studio, all the different sources. It'll be there for us. So stay tuned. It was a pleasure being with you guys, and I look forward to the next one. Thanks, everybody.
Boom.